Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Age of X-Man Omega. Yeah, I went Comixology on this one. I just wanted to see what it was going to be about. I didn't figure I wanted this in my collection. Well, it turns out I'll be getting this stuff in my collection because it turns out that I was 100% wrong. Yeah, there were two stories that I really liked. It didn't mean that just because I didn't like the direction that the other stories were going, doesn't mean they were any less important. In fact, all of these stories were actually important. So I figured I'm going to be making a spotlight on story. That's one of the things that I do to spotlight an entire story arc or a run or something where it's like, hey, look how cool this was. Go back and buy this. I'm going to be doing that for the Age of X-Man also because, yeah, like I said, I was wrong and I have no problems admitting that. So let's get talking about who made this book, and then I'll really quickly talk about how this book was good. I wanted to put this video out. It's important to me to put this video out to one, say that yes, I was wrong, and if you guys want, it's up to you, take my advice, maybe go out and try and grab some of these issues before they're gone, before they're all off the shelves. Some of them will go to the dollar bin and yay, you know what I'm saying, you'll be good to go. But those of you who follow Comic Book University, there's a chance to actually have all these floppies if you're into collecting the floppies for awesome events. You know what I'm saying? Rather than owning what do you call it, the Inferno stories on a trade paperback, what if you owned all of the original copies, right? So same exact deal here. You have an opportunity to go out and, back issues, grab. So I'm literally making this to laugh at myself and to give you guys an opportunity to grab these floppies because, yeah, I was wrong. Okay, let's talk about who made this comic book, then we'll talk about the book itself. Just a bit. Spotlight and story for all that good stuff. Anyway, we got Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson doing the writing on this book. They're actually billed in opposite directions, but whatever. Simon Buonfantino on art, and color artist Triona Farrell. The letters, VC's Clayton Cowles. The cover is by Phil Noto, and the variant cover artists are Wiles Portacio and Eric Arcianega. So when this ends, it turns out that the Age of X-Man was this big, world. I mean, we all knew. It's just this parallel dimension that Nate made, and, hey, check it out. And everybody's eventually going to leave or die or whatever, and it'll all disappear and we'll never hear from it again, right? Wrong. We are absolutely going to hear from this again. From this point on, guys, trust me that I say the comic book is good, and just leave unless you actually want some spoilers for what's about to happen. And the spoilers could be necessary for you to really be turned on to how cool this story is going to be. The Age of X-Man universe will continue to live on. It will exist from this point on. And Magneto is the only person who goes back to, because everybody goes back. Magneto is the only person to go back and understand that it still exists. He can have both. He can go back and forth. I don't know if he can go back and forth between the two. I think he can, though. By the way that this ends, it looks like he's the only person who has the ability to travel back and forth between these two realms, these two dimensional apertures. That's going to lead to something, my dudes. This is going to lead to something crazy in the future. This is going to be a future storyline. And it might be something that Hickman decides to use. Who knows? It could be something that we find out about 3 to 5 years from now. Who knows? But it's going to remain. This is going to exist. So Nate, he still exists. the X-Man. He's going to live through this. And he's not alone. You have to check the comic book. I'm not going to give you all the spoilers here. We also learn a little bit more about why, and I don't know if this was, it was an accident. That's why Danny Moonstone was still there. I don't know if it was an accident that they accidentally had her in both worlds. The regular Uncanny X-Men comic book and then this comic book also. It might be. I think she was in Prisoner X, right? Whatever it was, she was in both. And the question is why. Well, they give an explanation for it here. And whether they knew they were going to do this or not, the fact of the matter is that it came out to be a really good explanation for it. I'm not going to tell you what that explanation is, but I read it And while I wasn't necessarily, I'm the type of guy, like I read a good story, I'll cry. I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm behind closed doors. F the world, man. I'll shed some tears for a beautiful story. This didn't quite do that for me, but I did get just a little bit moved, okay? I enjoyed this. This final issue, this was actually really solid. And at first, it just seems like it's a whole bunch of fighting. It's like they're just drawing the X-Men, all the mutants. It's just people who just want to fight with each other and just, what are we going to say? Like mutant on mutant violence? Imagine what comes from that. You're right. Imagine, like, just go down the path of logical chain of logic. Go down the chain of logic and see what that actually means. Every single thing about the X-Men is always supposed to at least be an analogy. That's what it's supposed to be for something in real life. So yes, maybe that was something that they were trying to do, because there's always going to be mutant on mutant violence, whether you're a mutant or not. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're straight or not, whether you're white or not, whether you're anything or not, there's always going to be you on you violence everywhere. And since that was in here, at first I got a little bit like, oh, again, seriously, just treating mutants like this. But I got to take the higher road and try and look over the running rapids of the waters and realize that this is probably analogous for something else. We're always going to be fighting with each other. As humans, we're always going to be fighting with each other. There's something that's said in here which is perfect, and I've talked about this a lot. I don't know where I got this from. Maybe it was just, out of my own head. I don't know, but something that I've said often is the only way to have a perfect paradise is not a heaven, because your heaven could be my hell. The only way to do that is to put everybody in stasis. And there's an agreement here with Thompson and Nadler. This was actually really good. So considering how everything happened here, and mind you, there's a lot of people who were born into this world who don't exist in the Earth 616 universe, which means that if they destroyed this world, these people would die. And since they're just as real as any of us, that would be kind of rude, right? There's a lot of really good stuff that happened in this book, I gotta admit. And therefore, what's the big thing that I always say about an arc or a run or anything? If you go out on a high note, all the rest of it becomes valid. Even if the other books sucked, and the other books didn't all suck. Some of them I didn't enjoy the way they were going, but I also only read the first issue of some of these comic books. Some of them, like the extracts, I never even read the first issue of the extracts. There were stories that I didn't give a chance, and there were others that I didn't give an honest chance to. And others I just didn't like the direction they were going because I didn't understand the direction they were going to end on. So, again, I was wrong about Age of X-Man. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try and get a hold of all these floppies. Worst case scenario, I'll just have to substitute and get a bunch on Comixology. But I will be reading I think there were 6 books total. I will be reading all 6 of these 5-issue books. And then, reread this one again. And then, try and line it up with that particular part of the Uncanny X-Men. And I will do a spotlight on story for that, because this is actually a really important moment, an important segment for the X-Men universe. Man. Very rarely am I don't want to brag too much, but very rarely do I come across something where I'm just like, wow, I was really, really wrong on this. But I'm more than happy to admit that, I was wrong on this. So I'll be going back, I'll be reading this, I'll be doing a huge review called Spotlight on Story, Age of X-Man. And I'll probably talk about how bad I was wrong in that one also. Anyway, guys, sorry. Go and give it a shot, seriously. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.